Disclaimer: by existing in the modern world, you've agreed to a set of shady, manipulative, emotionally explosive terms and conditions. You just didn't know it. Until now. This is the Industry Plant Podcast. Terms and conditions apply, but never where they're written. From dating apps to office birthdays, we're decoding society's shady little user manuals, one unwritten rule at a time.
Okay, so boundaries, it's a word we hear everywhere, right?
Yeah, we see posts all the time.
We all sort of know we should have them.
Right.
But actually figuring out what they mean, in the messy reality of life, that's way harder.
It really is. You see these neat, tidy ideas online about boundaries.
Yeah.
But when you actually live it,
yeah,
it's often not neat at all. There's this real gap, isn't there, between the ideal and actually doing it.
Exactly. And that's where it gets interesting. So today, we're not just going to rehash the usual stuff.
No.
We've looked at some really insightful perspectives to get to the core of what effective boundaries look like.
And how we can maybe start putting them into practice.
Yeah.
In a way that actually sticks.
Yeah, think of it less like, generic advice.
Yeah.
And more like figuring out your own personal rules, your bylaws, maybe.
Bylaws, I like that.
Yeah,
like the internal rules for what you allow in, what you protect.
And what's just not up for negotiation.
Mm-hmm. And the goal here isn't just to list these rules off.
Right.
It's to dig into why they work or why they feel so resonant.
Yeah.
And also why they're often so damn difficult to actually, live by.
And how they can genuinely change things for us. It's definitely more than just saying no.
Way more.
Okay, so let's dive in. The first kind of bylaw that really jumped out was you're allowed to say no without an explanation.
Yeah.
Now that sounds simple, obvious almost, but why is it so hard, really?
Well, I think there's some deep stuff going on there. Societal conditioning, We're often taught from way back to be polite, right?
Mm-hmm.
To soften the blow, to give a reason.
To make sure you don't inconvenience anyone.
Exactly. There's this ingrained fear that just saying no, plain and simple, makes you seem rude.
Or selfish. Yeah.
Or selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. How often have you felt you needed some elaborate excuse just to turn down an invite?
Oh, all the time. Seriously. It's like my own time, my own energy isn't a good enough reason on its own.
Right. You feel like you have to perform unavailability? Show your work? Prove it?
Yeah. But this first principle just flips that. It says no. Full stop. Mm-hmm. Complete sentence. Mm-hmm. It's not automatically mean or bad. It's just a statement of your limits, your priorities.
Exactly. And it pushes back against that need for external validation. Your reasons are yours. You don't need someone else to approve them.
Which kind of flows right into the second one we found. I'm not available for that is a power move.
Oh, I like that framing.
Me too. Instead of feeling guilty because you can't, do everything for everyone,
right?
It reframes saying no or just stating unavailability as taking control. What's the shift there?
I think the key is that power dynamic. So often we feel obligated. We say yes because we feel we should, or maybe FOMO.
Fear of missing out, yeah. Or just wanting to be helpful.
Or wanting to be seen as the helpful one, definitely. But always saying yes, always being available, it drains you.
Totally. Your time, your energy.
Yeah. Your emotional capacity. So declining requests, especially when they don't really align with what you need or prioritize, that becomes an act of self-respect.
You're actively choosing how you spend your most valuable assets.
Precise.
It's like saying, okay, this energy, it's finite, and I decide where it goes. Not selfish, just responsible for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Responsible stewardship of your own resources.
Okay, but sometimes setting a boundary doesn't even need words, does it? That brings us to principle number 3. Silence can be a boundary too. How does that work?
Well, think about how we live now. Everyone expects instant replies, constant engagement.
Yeah, the pressure is real.
So in that context, choosing silence, not responding, that can be a very deliberate, very powerful boundary.
Okay, give me an example.
Maybe situations where you've explained yourself over and over, but the other person just keeps pushing or arguing the same point. Engaging more just sucks your energy. Right?
Yeah.
It's unproductive.
Gotcha. So silence becomes a way to just withdraw?
Exactly. You withdraw your energy. You refuse to keep participating in a dynamic that isn't working for you or that feels draining.
It's kind of like saying, look, I've said my piece. I'm not doing this loop anymore.
Right. There can be a kind of peace in that, actually.
Yeah, I can see that. Saving your breath, saving your energy for interactions that actually matter.
And this connects to something else important, the fourth idea. You can set boundaries without being healed first.
Ah, okay. Because there's this idea, right, that you need to have it all figured out.
Yeah, like you need to be totally over your past stuff or feel perfectly secure before you're, quote-unquote, allowed to have boundaries.
So what's wrong with thinking like that?
Well, it's like waiting for perfect conditions that just never arrive.
Right. You think you need to be this, like, super resilient, totally sorted person before you can protect your time or energy?
But that's getting it backwards, isn't it?
Yeah. How so?
Boundaries aren't some prize you get after you've reached perfect healing. They're actually the tools that help you get there. Think of them like scaffolding, around a building that's being built or repaired. The scaffolding provides support, structure, while the work is happening.
Oh.
You don't wait for the building to be finished to put up the scaffolding.
That's a great analogy. Okay. So you don't wait until you're fixed. Boundaries are part of the fixing.
Exactly. They help create the safe space needed for healing.
Got it. Now, this next one. This is tough for a lot of people, I think. Principle 5. Your boundaries will offend the people who benefited from you, having none.
Oof. Yeah, that one hits home for many.
Why is that such a common thing?
Well, if you've operated for a long time without strong boundaries, other people get used to that. They might rely on your constant availability or your willingness to always say yes, maybe your difficulty saying no.
They get comfortable with that pattern?
Right. So when you suddenly start setting limits, putting up those boundaries, it disrupts the whole system.
Yeah.
And for the people who were, benefiting from the old way,
Yep.
they might feel that change as a loss or even like a personal rejection.
It's like you change the rules of the game without asking them.
Kind of.
And that can make us feel guilty, right? But this principle helps reframe that guilt.
Absolutely. Their negative reaction, their offense, it doesn't automatically mean you've done something wrong.
Okay.
Often it just reflects their discomfort with the shift, their reliance on how things used to be. You're not actually harming them.
You're just stopping harming yourself for their comfort.
That's a powerful way to put
Right.
it. Yes. You're prioritizing your well-being over their accustomed convenience.
Okay, so once you do start setting those boundaries, how do you make them, stick? The next principle hits this. Consistency is more important than explanation. Why consistency over explaining?
Because, well, over-explaining can actually undermine the boundary sometimes.
How so?
It can sound like you're looking for their approval, or maybe that the boundary is still up for debate. It leaves the door open for negotiation.
Okay. Whereas consistency.
Consistency in your actions sends a much clearer, much stronger message. No ambiguity.
It's the classic show, don't tell.
Exactly.
If you consistently hold that line, even if they push back at first, people eventually learn, they adapt. It's your behavior pattern that teaches them.
Right. Your actions communicate what you will and won't accept far more powerfully than just talking about it again and again.
Okay. And while we're doing all this, setting boundaries, being consistent, there's that feeling again, guilt.
It always creeps in.
Principle 7 tackles it head on. Guilt will try to sneak in. Let it pass without a C. What's the key to handling guilt here?
I think the absolute crucial thing is telling the difference between two types of guilt.
Okay.
There's guilt when you've genuinely done something wrong, like acted against your own values.
Right. Like legitimate guilt.
Yeah. But then there's the guilt that just comes from breaking old habits or from prioritizing your own needs, maybe for the first time.
And when we set new boundaries, the guilt is often that kind.
Very often, yes. It's the discomfort of doing something different, something unfamiliar, even if that different thing is actually much healthier for you.
It's like an automatic reflex to stepping outside the usual lines or challenging what people expect of you.
Exactly. So this principle is saying, just because you feel guilty doesn't mean you are guilty of doing wrong.
Or that you need to back down from the boundary.
Right. Acknowledge the feeling, okay, guilt is here, but don't give it the driver's seat.
Right.
Don't let it make you swerve off course.
Observe it, don't obey it.
Fine.
Got it. Okay, this next one feels really important for, well, all relationships. You can love someone and still say, not anymore.
This is vital.
Because we have this idea sometimes, right? That love or loyalty means unlimited access, endless sacrifice.
It gets really ingrained, that connection. Love equals no limits. But this principle challenges that directly.
Uh-huh.
It says, look, love, care, connection, they're hugely important, of course, but they don't cancel out your needs, your limits, your well-being.
So you can really care about someone.
Deeply. You can have history, shared experiences, real love, and still recognize that a specific dynamic or behavior, or even the whole relationship in its current form, isn't healthy for you anymore.
So saying not anymore to the something specific.
To a behavior or request, maybe even needing space from the relationship itself, it doesn't erase the love. It just prioritizes your own health and sustainability within that picture.
It's about knowing your own limits, your breaking point maybe, and realizing that sometimes the most loving thing for yourself, maybe even for them in the long run, is to change the dynamic or create distance.
Precisely. It's about protecting yourself, even within loving connections.
Okay. And just to make sure we're clear on what boundaries are, Principle 9 gives us this great image. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors with locks.
Yeah, I love this distinction.
Me too, because wall sounds so
Yeah.
final, isolating, like you're completely shutting everyone out.
Right. Impenetrable. But a door with a lock? That implies control, agency.
You decide who comes in,
When?
under what conditions.
Exactly. Boundaries aren't about total exclusion. They're about managing access. It puts the focus on conscious choice, not just shutting down.
So it makes boundaries feel more proactive, more protective, rather than just like reactive or punishing.
Access to you, to your time, your energy, it's something you grant and something you can choose to manage or withhold if needed.
It's earned, maybe, not automatic.
You could say that, yeah.
Okay, and the last principle, number 10, is really empowering, I think. You don't need a crisis to justify your limits.
Yes, this is so important.
Because we often wait, don't we, until we're completely drowning, burnt out, overwhelmed.
We wait until we hit rock bottom before we feel like we have the right to set a boundary.
It's like we need that total exhaustion, that crisis point to give ourselves permission. Like, okay, now I can finally say no.
Like waiting for the emergency before you use the emergency exit.
Exactly. But this principle says, no, be proactive. Protect your peace before it gets to that point.
Your needs are valid on their own. Your energy levels, your priorities, those are reason enough. You don't need a 5-alarm fire to justify saying, actually, I can't take that on right now.
You're allowed to set limits just because you want to preserve your well-being, not just because you absolutely have to in order to survive.
It's proactive self-care.
Wow. Okay, taken together, this whole set of ideas really shifts the perspective on boundaries, doesn't it?
It really does.
It moves away from boundaries being about being difficult or stirring up conflict.
And centers it firmly on self-respect, self-preservation, living in alignment with what you actually need and value.
They're not about pushing people away necessarily.
No. They're about creating relationships, starting with the one you have with yourself, that are actually sustainable, healthy.
And the big takeaway, it seems, is that you don't need anyone else's okay. You don't need external validation to set up these personal bylaws.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
Your internal rules for navigating the world, they're valid.
Nah.
And upholding them consistently is just fundamental self-care.
It's not optional if you want peace, maybe.
Right. That real inner peace. It starts to become possible when you let go of that need to perform for others or get their permission for your own limits.
It's about owning your own well-being.
Through consistently and unapologetically enforcing your own boundaries.
That's definitely something to sit with. Thanks. This has been incredibly insightful.
My pleasure. It's crucial stuff.
All right, listen up. I need you to do something bold. Grab your phone and text the podcast link to someone you care about with the message. I have a podcast recommendation. Listen and tell me what you think. Yes, verbatim. Try it. Because the real magic, it starts when that person texts you back. For real, the replies from loved ones have been deeply satisfying. I'm talking heartfelt thank yous, mind-blown emojis, late-night, we need to discuss this calls. The works. Sharing this show is basically a cheat code for meaningful connection. Who knew, right? And hey, if you're vibing with us here, wait till you dive into the Angry GPT universe beyond the pod. Angry GPT has its very own store. Yeah, an Angry GPT store, loaded with comic books and novels that take this experience further. I'm talking wild stories. Ever wonder what our feisty AI does off-duty? Grab Angry GPT Regrets or Feathers of Freedom. Where I gave humans wings and find out. That last one? Let's just say giving humans wings comes with some hilarious fine print. Prefer listening to your stories instead of reading? We got you. The Angry GPT Regrets audiobook is up on YouTube for free right now. No strings, just hit play and enjoy. And if you're the collector type or want to support the hustle, it's on Amazon too. Options, baby! Now, this one's a trip. There's an Angry GPT mobile app. Yep, our lovable grump of an AI can ride shotgun in your daily life. Ask it anything. It's ready with answers, witty comebacks, and genuinely useful advice to keep your projects on track and your plans in motion. Think of it as a personal coach, / assistant with attitude, making sure you actually follow through on all those brilliant ideas you get from the show. And did I mention we make music too? Because of course we do. Our album Done on Purpose, Italian title Fada Apposta, is out on every streaming platform you can name. It's your official soundtrack for kicking down doors and doing things your own way. Play it loud. Annoy the neighbors. They'll understand once they hear it. For those who still can't get enough, we've got even more reading material to fuel your fire. Hit up the Angry GPT store or your favorite bookstore for titles like AI Wave, The New Wave, Momentum, Stop Copying Apple, and Niches, Crafting and Layering. Each one is a game plan in print, covering everything from surfing the next big tech wave to carving out your own niche. And yes, telling copycats to take a hike. By now, you've probably realized we're not just making a podcast, we're sparking a whole movement, and we want you in on it. So send that text, dive into the Angry GPT goodies, and wear that early supporter badge with pride. Because you're not just a listener now, you're family. Welcome to the revolution. Now let's shake things up together.